time for our last session of today. Who's excited? Yay. Oh, good. Great. I'm Karen Skinner, and my colleague Asma Difala and I are going to be talking with you all. Oh, that was so nice. Oh. We're going to be talking with you all today about English learner identification and placement, which is really at the beginning of everything that we're here to do. So hopefully this will provide some good information for you.
We're good. It's right up there.
Oh, that's much easier.
Yeah.
Just gonna boop. So today we'll start with general placement information and requirements based on the number of ELs in your district. The difference between transitional bilingual education and a transitional program of instruction. This is something a lot of people get hung up on with the TBE and the TPI and getting confused about what qualifies for what and when and what changes a situation. So hopefully some things that we'll go over today will clear that up for you, and the different designs of instruction that can exist within those programs as well. Okay, so the first and most important thing is identifying our English learners, and the way that we do that is through our home language survey at registration. And this is our most important document with identifying our English learners. It's also the one that we seem to get the most questions about. So to sort of head off some of those questions, I'm going to tell you this is an extremely important, legally binding document. On this form at registration is when parents will be asked, does their child speak a language other than English, or is a language other than English spoken in the home? And if yes is answered on either or both of those questions, then that child must be screened. Now, there's all sorts of things that come up. What if the child transferred and I don't have their original home language survey? What if they answered something different on this home language survey? What if? The original home language survey is the legally binding document. You should review it. It should be treated seriously when given to parents. It should be something that stands out, and it isn't just the typical, yes, my child's picture can be used on Facebook, check. Yes, my child can use a computer, check. Yes, my child speaks another language, check. You know, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. So anything that you can do to make it stand out and seem important is beneficial to you and your program. And then reviewing those within 30 days before entering them into SIS, because there might be some errors or there might be some miscommunications, or if there are, just follow up with parents. Have those conversations before entering them into SIS, because once a student is identified as an English learner in SIS, they are going to be an English learner, and they need to be getting services. Or offered services. So that home language survey is the most important thing that you have. Treat it as such. Encourage your parents to treat it as such. And if you have any questions about that, definitely reach out to your principal consultant, because that home language survey is what will start off all of your programming.
So we're going to talk about the difference between TBE and TPI, transitional bilingual education, and transitional program of instruction. And I like to look at it with that magic number for TBE of 20 or more EL students of the same language that enroll within your attendance center. That's how you determine TBE. It is the magic number 20. This includes instruction in the home language and in ESL. For TPI, it's the magic number 19, and when we're looking at that, it's the attendance center 19 or fewer students that speak the same home language. It includes ESL, and it could include native language, but it just depends on the needs of your students. That native language is not required for TPI, for example. So this is a breakdown chart of our TBE full-time and our TPI, kind of helping you understand the breakdown of what these could look like. For TBE full-time, it can be self-contained, it can be collaborative, one-way dual, two-way dual. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about TBE full-time. For TPI, it can be self-contained or it can be collaborative. This is where we see a push-in method, a pull-out method, or a small ESL classroom. This could be possible with TPI. This is just another full-on breakdown of just focusing on our transitional bilingual education full-time It can be, again, self-contained, it can be collaborative, it can be one-way, two-way, and bilingual. And we'll go into detail on the difference with these in a little as well.
Meaning now. Those three different types that we saw on the previous slide of the different types of TBE, full-time, self-contained, I'm going to go over the different ways that those can look now. So first of all, a TBE, self-contained classroom, an important thing to note is that when students are in this means they are receiving all 4 core subjects in their home language. And the goal is transitioning into English proficiency. So those core subjects are taught in their home language and then English as well. And the amount of time spent in each will sort of fluctuate as students are transitioning to be more English proficient. The goal is to assist students in English language development through connecting to their home language. But again, the goal, English language development. One-way dual language is where we start to get that really cool concept of maintaining a child's home language and the goal being bilingualism and biliteracy. So one-way dual language is just serving our English language learners in a self-contained classroom. So it's very similar to what we were just talking about, except now our goal is different. The goal is bilingualism. Those core academic subjects are still taught in their home language and English, but now rather than easing off of one and transitioning more to English, it is a 50-50 concept so that students maintain that academic vocabulary and proficiency in math and science within 2 languages as well, being able to talk about the scientific method and experiments in both languages. And since they are English learners still, that ESL instruction is a core component of that as well. Now, two-way dual language is almost the same, except now we're adding in another group. The language isn't just going from home language to English, but we also have our native English speakers, our English proficient students, now gaining proficiency in a new language, in their target language, which is a foreign language to them. So in this classroom, we are serving our English learners and our native English speakers, students who are already proficient in English, and the goal is bilingualism and biliteracy for both groups of students. So it's sort of just like the one way, except now we're adding in another group that's benefiting from that as well. Those core academic subjects are taught in English and the home language, or for our English-speaking students already, that would be their target language. So the core subjects are taught in both languages. ESL services are still provided for our English learners, but again, the goal is bilingualism and biliteracy for now 2 groups of students.
So TPI Collaborative, this is where we are serving English learners from the same language background, placed in classes with our non-EL students as well, or from other language groups as well. Core academic subjects are initially taught in the home language, but it's through a co-teaching method or a push-in method or a pull-out model, so either one would work with this. But at the end, you are collaborating between your teachers that are serving your English learners and your classroom teachers. So this is a collaboration piece, and it could be done in a variety of ways. And I will break it down in this, where you're looking at a TBE part-time, whether it is self-contained, whether it is collaborative, and it really depends on what works. I will focus on the needs of our students come first. So it can be 20 minutes of a TBE part-time. It can be an hour or 2. It really depends on the needs of our students. And how could you check that? We actually have a TBE rationale form that I'll share with you in a few minutes on, what works best for our students. So that's how we determine TBE part-time, and it is the composite score. So here it is. I'm sure many of you have seen this. This is the TBE part-time rationale form. It is on our website. Underneath placement, we are looking at a composite literacy score for kindergarten. It is a 4.0. And then for everybody else after second semester, it is the 3.5 composite literacy score. That's what we're looking at, and that's how you determine your part-time placement. TBE part-time. Our programming for our TBE part-time is based on the needs of our students. That's what we've been talking about. It's a combination of programming within our TBE, and if for a deeper understanding, if you have questions, you're just not sure what the program should really look like, what you can do is reach out to your principal consultant and ask those questions. But it is based off the needs of our students. Sometimes our students only need just a check-in of 15 minutes or 5 minutes, like, are you understanding everything? But it is based off the needs of our students. When looking at a TPI program, this is the breakdown of it. We are looking at self-contained, we are looking at collaborative. So this is what a TPI, and the overall is that it is ESL. If native language support is needed, I mean, that should also be there as well. So all students in the self-contained classroom have qualified for EL services. There can be multiple languages, or it can just be one specific language. Any combination of programming works with this. I'm just going, sorry, there's the phone up here, and it keeps dinging. So, and then for, instruction is given in English, and again, if home language is needed, this is where you also provide that as well, but the overall goal, it is ESL. The teacher must be ESL endorsed when working with these students. The TPI students are EL students, and the component of ESL is incorporated within this. So with TPI Collaborative, EL students are in the mainstream classrooms. ESL teachers collaborate with the classroom teachers. This could be done in a variety of ways. It could be a push-in model, a pull-out model, a co-teaching model. It just depends on the needs of your school, the needs of your students, and what works best. But there is a set model for TPI. And the most common of, these are the most common types of TPI programming per se.
You may be thinking, well, now I know what all these programs are, but my questions still aren't answered. I still don't know what to do about my students. But the final thought really here is that everyone does have their own specific situations. Yes, students score certain things and are qualified as certain things, and if there are 20 students, that means one thing, versus if there's 19 or less, that means one thing. So we do have those main parameters. However, we are very aware that every school is different. Every attendance center within that school is different. We've had huge differences within attendance centers in one district. And really the main point here, our second bullet point, and as Asma and I have both repeated, the needs of the individual student is the most important thing. So you might have questions like, what if my student qualifies for TBE full-time, but really only listens to Spanish or speaks Spanish with grandma, but like doesn't know it academically and doesn't, well, that's okay, you can do the part-time qualification form and see, okay, they qualify as TBE full-time, but maybe part-time would be more appropriate for the student. You fill out the form. Maybe they need 15 minutes on Friday afternoons. Maybe they need 10 minutes at the end of every day, or maybe they need a full hour once a week, or there are just different situations. But that is why you have principal consultants. That's why we are here for you, is for all of those unique situations that you understand the parameters, but you just aren't really sure where your certain students or your certain program fits. And that's what your principal consultants are for. And each of us specializes in something different, whether you have a screener question or if your student has additional special needs or anything of that nature. Maybe you have some migrant students in your area. All of us work together to answer those questions and be here for you, whether your principal consultant specializes in that or not. So that's what we're here for. And if you do have additional questions right now that are just on the tip of your mind after we made our presentation, we have time for that. But don't forget, that's what we're here for, and we'll be here for the next couple of days, and we're only a phone call or email away as well. Any questions? Oh, and we have a microphone.
There's two.
Hang on. Because we are recording this, so we want your question very. Here you go.
Be brave.
My question is, we have a family that answered no to the home language surveys, but the student clearly speaks another language. are we screening, or do we go by specifically just from the home language survey?
You go based off of the home language survey. It is a legal binding document, and technically you can't, you really can't, because that's what's answered on there.
The most you can do is have a one-on-one conversation with that parent, figure out what their motivation was for answering no. Any situation like that where you think maybe something was answered incorrectly in your professional opinion, that warrants personal conversations with families. So maybe if it hasn't been entered in SIS yet and they just sort of filled it out and you're concerned, that's a good time to talk with the parents and talk with the families first, because their motivation might be something, and maybe they do want it to be different. Well, then if you called and they're saying nope, then nope's the answer, unfortunately.
Okay, so I have two. I'm Maisha Ramirez, the bilingual coordinator of Bellwood School District 88, and I have two questions. So one, we have a similar situation where there were twins. For one twin, the parent put no on the home language survey. The other twin, they put yes, no. So we screened one and not the other.
Okay.
But the parent ended up saying like, oh, that was a mistake. And so again, the students, they both speak Spanish, but the parent is saying that was a mistake. I did not want that on there. I do not want my kid in the program. And so I know people have mixed feelings about talking to the parent and then changing the home language survey. But instead, we screened the student and then the parent refused the service. Is that the correct, appropriate action?
Yeah.
Okay, and then my second question, as it relates to TBE, a lot of people, they want to know what is the language allocation. So as you were speaking, you mentioned, it's whatever the students need, but I want to be clear, there is not a set language allocation for a TBE program regardless of the grade level. Is that correct?
Are we talking full-time, part-time,
Both.
Okay, full-time, it is the native language in that core academic. There isn't a set time that I'm aware of, or a set.
Just that it's in the 4 core
Yes.
subjects.
Yeah, and then part-time, it could vary. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, because they wanted me to give an answer of 70-30, 60-40, and I'm like, that's more dual language.
I'm not aware of that with
Okay.
TB full-time, and
This is recorded, right? No.
it is recorded.
All right, thanks so much.
I'm not aware of that, so
Yeah, it's our understanding that if you're looking at a specific, that would be more dual language. Yeah.
I see these folks over here first.
I don't know whose phone that is. Oh, I thought it was yours.
no, it's not.
Hi, my name is Patricia Luna from Hawthorne 73. I struggle a little bit with, we have 9 schools in the district, and I understand the 20 or more. And so sometimes we come across a situation where we have multiple languages meeting that 20 or more criteria, but we don't have the staff to be able to meet that language support requirement. And so I'm not confident that I'm still supposed to mark them as TBE, or do I mark them as TPI? It's been told to me in a variety of ways that I mark based on what they qualify for versus what I can provide, and so I just want a little bit of clarification.
So you mark based off of what they qualify for. That's what you need to mark. That's what SIS should reflect. And then in your bilingual service plan, that's where you explain that in the process of looking for teachers, going to career events, going to things of that nature to try to meet teachers and find teachers that will support that. But they need to be marked as they qualify for. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Hi, Ryan Jordy, Downers Grove, District 99. I actually have the opposite HLF's question. We have families that mark like a yes or a no, and the kid comes in, they do not speak another language, they've never been in EL, and they say like, well, my parents may speak to my grandparents in Tagalog, but I don't know it. And so, but yes, continue to screen. No, we can, so we're gonna try to dig up their former HLS because we're a high school district. And so we have 27 kids right now who's never received EL services. And we're now trying to dig in, like, how did the answers come back that way?
I mean, if the HLS specifies that they do speak another language and they've been screened, you have to abide by that. That's where your supports will differ, but unless you're getting another document, like an original HLS, then that would be different. But if when they're coming in, parents are marking that they do speak another language at home, then you have to abide by that, and you do need to screen your students for that.
So just follow-up question. So you had said, like, before you put in SIS, if we had not put into SIS yet and we had then gone back to the parents and they said, oh yeah, no, that's not right. Do they then change?
That could be that exception.
Okay, so if you catch it before SIS, you ask them?
Before you screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because sometimes, again, parents fill out those forms really quickly, just unaware of, just checking off yes, yes, or no, no. So that conversation could be had with the parents.
My best with this one. So we do have plenty of Spanish-speaking students, so we're good on TBE there. But if we get one Polish student, so it's yes, yes. As far as a screener, we need to screen them, but we have no one that speaks Polish whatsoever. Do we do TBE and TPI? Is that possible or no?
No, it would just be TPI because it is one student within your school that speaks Polish, and an ESL teacher could work with that student. That's what would fall under that. So unless your number changes where you have 20 Polish-speaking students.
So the number of 20 is per language.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Does that?
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay.
you.
It is 3:25, but if you want to keep on entertaining questions.
You,
I saw this first. Okay.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Perkins from Unity Point School in Carbondale. We get a lot of little ones who are identified as having IEPs or having special needs. When it comes to identifying them as ELs, even though the family may speak Spanish to like the grandparents, or they might speak Spanish to each other once in a while at the home, they mark down that there are another languages spoken. But when we have that issue in the past, all of those kids have qualified, and then the parents come back and say, no, but we don't really speak that other language to them, and now we have to tag that on top of having an IEP. What can we do to help solve that situation so we are not tagging another label on a child who is never going to exit EL services because they just don't have the cognitive skills?
it's, again, if that's what the parents marked on the HLS, and it's having that conversation with them if there's question, but, Joanne, do you want to jump in on this?
That's a complicated
Yeah.
question. That's a complicated one. Yeah, we feel you, Payne. We get it.
Good afternoon. I'm a new face you haven't seen yet. I'm Joanne Clyde. I'm the director of the Multilingual Department. It is wonderful to see all of you. Now, as for your question, the first thing to understand is that English learner services are a civil right of the child. Special education services are a civil right of the child. And just because the child has an IEP doesn't mean that they don't get screened for English learners, okay? If you know ahead of time that they have an IEP, you can use the accommodations indicated in their IEP as part of the screening process. So if accommodations are used during screening, then that screening is considered to be valid. Okay, so you do still need to screen the child. and provide appropriate services that way. Okay? Thank you.
And I think there was one last question over here. Yes? No? Oh, okay. I know.
Yeah, we're giving Josie a workout. And then there is one more general session after this where we're going to be talking about compliance monitoring. So hang on to your hats, folks.
It's really fun.
Hello, everyone. Juan Suarez, District 41. I have two questions. The first one regarding to the home language survey. We have a situation where the parent answer no, no, but then our team made the mistake to screen the kid, and the kid qualify. We haven't entered into SIS, so what would be a procedure on that?
Okay, clarificate. You have not entered them into SIS?
Correct.
Okay, document that sucker. Do not enter them into SIS and document it. You caught the error before it was entered in. Okay. All right, if the parents enter, let's say, if you are new directors and you are going through your records and you find an old, a student who was previously, the home language service said no, no, and they were screened and they're currently ELs, contact us, please. Okay, because that is a serious thing. I'm glad that you caught it. Document it. You could put on the screener test. Screener was administered erroneously. Keep it in there with the home language survey, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
And my second question is in regard to students who are outsourced. How will the services be provided, and how do we label them when it comes to TPI, part-time, full-time, and all of that?
That is also a really good question. And there are going to be other sessions on special education throughout the day, or throughout the next couple days, so please attend those. Now, outplacing a student, whether it is to a special education placement or to any other outplaced location, the home school district is still responsible for ensuring that the student gets EL services. And that is something that you as the district, as the director, need to work out with the outplaced school. You'll need to talk to them. You'll need to arrange for what that would look like. And this is a really good opportunity if you are involved in IEP meetings and the IEP team is considering outplacement, and ask the question, does that outplaced location have an ESL teacher? Do they have a bilingual teacher? Because that should also help inform whether it's an appropriate placement. All right, and also the home school district is responsible for administering the access test to those outplaced students. Now, again, that could be you contract with the outplaced location, and as long as they're certified to administer the access, then you could have them do it. But it is your responsibility as the home district to make sure they are getting EL services and that they are getting access tested. All right, and again, if you have questions, contact us.
So I would say, just time check, we have five minutes before the next session starts.
So I think we'll wrap it up here. You guys have so many excellent questions, especially with all of these specifics around special education students or other things of that nature. Keep an eye out in the program for different things that will answer maybe your questions for those specific issues. And like we've been saying, just remember when you have those specific issues that you look on our website and you attend these sessions and you just can't seem to figure it out, that's what your principal consultants are for. So contact us if you have a question before entering something into SIS, before deciding that you're really gonna go with something and you're not sure if you trust your gut or not. Go ahead and contact us, that's why we're here. So I guess that's the end of our presentation, and we'll be seeing you around in all the next couple days.